Kings Park, which was the venue, by the way, for that terrific outside broadcast that Nadia and Russ did last Thursday. And it was great to see some of the and meet some of the listeners there. But anyway, Kings Park, home to some of our most historical sites and places of remembrance, also home to a number of sporting venues. And tucked in off Kings Park Drive is the Royal Kings Park Tennis Club, and it's got a 120-year history. The beautifully manicured grass courts have hosted the likes of Harry Hopman, Margaret Court, Leighton Hewitt and Pat Rafter, as well as 100 or so local members. And ABC reporter Alex Hyman sat down in the majestic members stand with the club president, Bruno Camarri. Have a listen.
The club when it started in 1899, they started with a couple of asphalt courts. In 1903, they built some grass courts, and the committee decided that only men could play on the grass courts. The ladies took exception to that, and they all resigned en masse. And then in 1921, the ladies decided that they'd form their own tennis club. So they went to the committee and said, we're going to form our own club. And this fellow McGibbon, who was a big man then, he thought, this is a good idea. We'll get the land in eventually. So he went to the Kings Park board and they came back and said, your application is refused. Reapply when the ladies can play on all of the courts available at Kings Park, and you've built some facilities for them.
Just how significant is this club for WA's tennis history? We're sitting here in this beautiful members stand that must be 80, perhaps 90 years old, and we've got the McGibbon stand over there, and they are beautiful structures. And sadly, we've lost things like this with a lot of our sporting facilities, but these have been beautifully maintained here.
These are unique. Where we're sitting now is the members stand, and that was opened in 1926. And the stand that you see over there is the McGibbon stand, and that was opened in 1935. Our first international tennis match was versus the French, against the French in 1928. And Harry Hopman was a member of that team. I think our first Davis Cup match was in the early 50s, and since then we've had Davis Cup matches between a whole bunch of countries, etc. We've had Pat Cash, John Alexander, Mark Edmondson, John Fitzgerald, double specialists Peter McNamara, Paul McNamee, Leighton Hewitt, Todd Woodbridge, etc. Kings Park Tennis Club in the 50s and 40s, 50s, 60s and 70s, we were the home of tennis. And at one stage on the committee, out of 9 members, 8 were active Royal Kings Park Tennis Club members. So this club has had a huge say in the future of tennis.
What are things looking like for the Kings Park Tennis Club in 2019?
Actually, things are looking very, very rosy. As I said, we've just finished refurbishing our 2 grandstands here. We've got 22 grass courts, all in excellent condition. The one thing we do have here is our grass tennis courts, and older people prefer to play on grass tennis courts. So I suppose my ambition as president, I'd like to see more international competitions here, and I would like to see them with the older generation. We've got everything that's needed, and hopefully in the next year or two we'll be able to host a major international tennis tournament here for the sort of over 70s, or for older people.
If we were sitting here, say 90 years ago, 95 years ago, what would the scene have been like? Would we have seen ladies playing in near full-length gowns and the like?
Oh, yep. Oh, no, back in those days, everyone, there were no shorts and certainly no tank tops or T-shirts or anything like that. Yes, it was long trousers and long-sleeve shirts.
It's just wonderful how the game has evolved, and this club has been here through all of that. It's a wonderful history, Bruno. Thank you so much for talking us through it.
Thank you for having me.